So we're so glad you're joining us tonight because we are going to show you how to replicate this really fabulous farmhouse table look that is so popular right now. This dark, stained dark top and lighter legs and base, that is absolutely the in look, and it has been that way for a long time, hasn't it, honey?
I think so.
Yeah. So we're gonna be doing something really interesting tonight. We're gonna take this pine footstool and we're gonna give it the same exact look as this table using General Finishes products.
Impossible.
I'm gonna show you. Don't say it's impossible, honey. So we're gonna be using General Finishes gel stain in carbon gray on top, and we're gonna be painting the bottom and the base with General Finishes furniture paint in Reverend Gray. And we're gonna reproduce this exact look and show you how easy it is. So you know I love a challenge. If you know me at all, I love a challenge. So this is kind of a challenge to do this, but I'm going to show you how easy it is, and it's going to be an awful lot of fun. So what I did to make, you know, the idea is if you're taking an old antique piece and you want to make it, give it that farmhouse look, in all likelihood you're not going to have a piece of unpainted, unfinished pine like this. So I wanted to make it a little more realistic. So I'll show you what I did. Let me put this over here. So I came in yesterday and I took the same exact piece and I painted it dark brown to replicate what old wood looks like, because most old wood looks dark brown. I actually did one coat of stain on top. And I'm going to show you how I did that with this raw wood. Now, let's talk about how we would prep to do this project. So we're going to pretend that this bench is an antique bench. It's got dark wood, and we found it in the back of an old barn somewhere.
So is the top the same color as the bottom on that?
No, I already stained the top.
Yep. Okay.
In carbon gray,
okay,
from General Finishes. The reason being is that it's a two-part process, and I needed it to dry enough so I could do the top coat. But I'm going to show you how I did this on this raw wood. So what we would do with this piece, if it really was genuinely an antique, first we'd see if, make sure everything's tight and doesn't need any repairs. And when I say we, you know I don't mean me. I mean Kevin. So this particular one is from Fusion Mineral Paint. It comes in liquid form, but it is a concentrate, and you mix it with warm water. We also have it in powder form from the Real Milk Paint, and the same thing, you mix the powder with water. It's really 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And then you just mix it up in a nice solid piece like this, honey. How would you clean it?
So if it's solid wood, I kind of say, which this is solid, so solid meaning no veneer and no laminate. I put it in the driveway, and with a hose and a bucket, I would wash it like I wash a car.
Right.
On a nice sunny day, today's beautiful, low humidity,
yep,
not super hot out. You basically, with a sponge, go into the bucket. I wear gloves because the TSP after a while can dry your hands out. It's a very good cleaner, so it will take the oil off of your hands. And then I would just wash the top and wash the legs. If I had if it was this big table, I would use probably a nylon scrubbing brush.
Yeah, this table was
to
dirty.
It was filthy.
We got it out of a barn.
To get into all the cracks and crevices. Great thing about it is then you can turn it upside down and wash the bottom, and that's how you get all the spider webs off of it, and you'll get all that.
Yeah, you want to make sure, you don't want to just get the spots you're going to paint. You want to get everything.
Get everything. It's great with dressers. You pull the drawers out. So if you're going to, if anything has a drawer, pull the drawer out. clean top and bottom, inside and out of the drawer. Make sure it's not made, if it's newer furniture, that it doesn't have fiberboard in it, because
Yeah.
the fiberboard will absorb the water. Particle board is horrible. Don't let that get wet. It's kind of like Jiffy Pop. It expands and you can't do anything with it. But clean it well, then rinse it and let it set. And on a day like today, with the sun on it, even though it's not super hot, but with this nice breeze, it will be dry in 20 minutes and ready to paint.
Right. So that's really all there is to prep. Something different, you know, a situation that you might have that might be a little extra would be if you have paint that's chipping off. In that case, you want to get anything off that's chipping. You also, if you have a very, very shiny finish on that piece, if it had a shiny finish on it, like a shiny varnish, in many cases, after you clean it with TSP and it dries, it'll be dull. If it's not dull, if it's still super shiny and slick, you just want to take like a 220 grit sandpaper and give it a very light sanding.
A little scuff.
Just to scuff up, just to create some grip. So we've done our prep for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and turn it over. And if you have the ability to turn a table over, it's a really great way to paint it, because it just lets you get into all the...
Get some pieces of cardboard, throw them down on the floor, and then roll it over on the cardboard.
So since this is so tiny, I'm going to just turn it over, which makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so as I said, we're using General Finishes products today, and the paint I'm using is the same exact color that we used in the table we showed you a couple minutes ago, and it's called Reverend Gray. It's by General Finishes. Now, they call their furniture paint milk paint. That's a little bit deceiving, because a traditional milk paint comes in powder form and is mixed with water.
Mm-hmm.
This is pre-mixed.
And doesn't have a built-in top coat in it.
Well, this does.
That's what I'm saying. Typical milk paint.
Yes.
So this is,
General Finishes does have a built-in top coat,
Yep.
and it goes on very, very smooth, and it's nice and durable. Now this is a pint. It also comes in quarts, which is really nice if you have a big project. And let me just show you something. We painted that table we showed you with this. Can you see how little paint we used?
if you turn it a little, tip it a little, there you go.
Look how little paint we used.
Yeah.
By the way, we sell General Finishes products on our website. So I'm mixing it up with a paint stick, just a little bit. It's gonna feel thick. You're gonna feel like it's a little thick.
Just feels heavy.
That's a little deceiving, because it's not. So I pulled out a couple of brushes. The most important thing to note when choosing your brush is that it be synthetic. We always recommend synthetic brushes for painting furniture. And I pulled out a couple today. This is a Stahlmeister brush. It's one of my favorites. This is the pointed 14. We also carry the Klingon brushes. This is the round 16. And I've got a little, just a 2-inch flat brush. So I think...
With no number to it.
Yeah.
If you're a brush aficionado, the 14 and the 16, right? That's...
Yeah, it'll mean something.
yeah.
So I'm going to get started with the Stahlmeister pointed 14, only because I have some inside, details in here, small areas that I want to get to. And again, this is a synthetic brush. If you're looking to get smoother brush strokes, which we all are, I like to take a spray bottle of water and just give it a couple of spritzes. And notice I'm not completely dipping my brush in the paint. I'm not like taking a crazy amount of paint on there. And look, I just want you guys to see how incredibly well this paint covers a very dark surface. In most situations, with a paint that's a white or an off-white, you would not get this kind of coverage in your first coat. So when I do the bottom of a table, you know, I want it to look good. I want it to be nice and smooth, but I don't worry quite as much as I do, you know, with the parts that you're going to see, because in most cases you're not going to see the bottom all that much. All right, so I'm gonna,
Let that dry.
yep.
Or
So, I think it might. I think it might be dry by the time. No. All right. Kevin wants to take it, so you take that. Okay. So remember earlier when we talked about prepping our piece that we got out of a dirty old barn? Well, if you're gonna stain the top, you're gonna need to sand it down. Now I know that sounds a little bit like a lot, but it's really not, because you're only gonna stain. You're only gonna sand down the top. So you could take a sanding block. You can get them in any hardware store, and just, you know, use some elbow grease and sand the top down. It's not a big deal, I promise. So this piece of wood has never been painted, so we're going to use this and hope to replicate what the top of the table or dresser or whatever our piece is that we're going to be staining. So I'm going to be using General Finishes Carbon Gray, and it comes in pints, half pints, quarts. So again, I'm going to shake it up a little bit. And I have a paint stick. Get out my little opener. Okay. So I'm going to open this up. I would wear gloves. I don't have a pair of gloves in front of me, so I'm not going to. And, you know, I'll get it cleaned off. But for yourself, you probably want to wear gloves. Okay, so I'm going to mix this up. It's a little bit thick. It has a consistency of like a pudding. Not a super thick pudding, but similar to a pudding. See that? It's so cool. So I'm going to use a sponge brush. So I just want to have on hand some blue shop cloths. And if you watch us often, you know we love these things. I feel like I should be getting a kickback from Scott's or something, because I'm always recommending these. Okay, so I want to have a couple of those handy. I'll put them right here. And I'm just going to take some of the stain and just start brushing it on with my sponge brush. All right, so I think this is good. I think it's all ready. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my shop cloth, and rather than just like wiping it like this, I like to fold these up. I just feel
It's
that
more organized that way.
it just works better. So I'm gonna fold it up a little bit. And here's the part that you probably really would want to wear gloves. So I'm just gonna wipe it back.
And you don't want it to sit on there too long because you don't want it to start to dry.
Right. Now, some stains you need to leave on for a while, like, 10, 20, 30 minutes. This you do not have to. By the time you start, in most cases you're going to be doing a larger surface. So by the time you finish one, you can go back to where you started and start wiping it back. Now notice I'm going with the grain, and my cloth is flat. So I'm actually going to turn this around, and I'm going to start wiping from the other side.
And so one thing, if you wanted this stain to go on smoother and maybe not as dark, what you can do is wipe the wood with mineral spirits first.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yep.
So I just want you guys to see, this is gorgeous. So easy. There is no reason that you should be intimidated to do this. There's just no reason. It's so easy. This is my third time doing this. No, my third? 1, 2. This is my fourth time doing this. Just so you know. Easy. Easy, easy. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our table. Kevin dried the paint for us. So we're going to go ahead and do another coat. Okay. I actually think I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to go to my flat brush. And again, I'm going to dampen it just a drop, because we're working with a water-based paint and I want to help eliminate brush strokes. Okay. Now, when you're painting a piece of furniture that is this dark and you're painting it a white color, you would normally need 3-4 coats. But this is going to cover in this second coat. I'm going to be done.
Yep.
So I'm just going to turn this over, unless you want to take it and dry it.
No, that's all right.
Okay. So this is the gel stain top coat. So it's actually, even though it's so simple and we only do one coat, we do add a top coat. So it's sort of like 2 coats. So I'm going to shake this up. Get another paint stick, and I'm just going to stir this up. Even though I shook it, I want to stir it as well. because it is pretty thick. And it's sort of like, it's pretty much the same consistency as the
Gel stain.
So it's sort of like a pudding. That's probably the best way to describe the consistency of it. So I'm going to put it on just like we put on the stain. Okay, now I'm going back to my shop towels. And again, I'm going to fold them up. And I'm just going to start wiping. Now you probably want to wait at least overnight. I probably would wait even longer. Maybe wait at least 24 hours, and you'll notice that it does take a little bit of the gel stain back.
But secret tip, if you want to pull some of the gel stain and lighten it up a little, that's what you could use it for.
Yeah.
You know.
So here's the thing. You can do multiple coats of the top coat. If you want to do that, what you want to do is wait, again, at least like 12 to 24 hours.
Right.
In between coats, you want to take a very, very, very fine grit sandpaper. Give it a super, super light sanding, like that. Literally, that would be my whole thing. Just to go over it once, super light, not applying pressure. Then you're going to take a cloth and wipe back any of the dust, and then do your next coat. So, you know, depending on what product you're using for your top coat, should be how you determine how many coats you want to use. So the curing time with the paint, this is water-based paint. Any water-based paint product, even though it might be dry in 30 or 60 minutes, it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to completely cure. And what that means is, because it's water-based, it's dry to the touch. However, there is still water within it that hasn't evaporated. So that's what the curing time is, and it will be its most durable once it's completely cured. So anyway, guys, we want to thank you so much on this beautiful evening that you're joining us. We're just honored. We're thrilled to have you joining us. So this has been a lot of fun. And you know what? Like I said, next Wednesday night we haven't made a
It'd be
schedule.
almost like HVV University.
HVV University.
Yeah, right.
Professor Risa.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like that. Dr. Risa.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like that. That sounds pretty good.
Doctor of Milk Paint.
I've always wanted to.
Doctor of Milk Paint.
I have my master's. I've always wanted to get a PhD.
There you go.
There you go. So anyway, lastly, the last thing I'm going to say is if you have any suggestions for a tutorial for next Wednesday night, post it in the comments because we haven't figured out what we're going to do yet. Have a great night. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care, everybody.